Hello and welcome everyone. We've got round 5 of the Carolinas Open, or the Carolinas Classic. We've got Emily back at it. She is actually undefeated. She has 2 draws, 2 wins, and this is the 5th and final round. Hello SpeedChess, hello Eskia. Good to see you both. Hello to Deepak. Pure Ability, Dr. Chess, Lubican, Feeling Chessy. Welcome everyone. I guess the kings were set up wrong, maybe. But that's okay, that happens. Let me see if I can put the clock times in a better place here. Anyways, the game has started and we have a Sicilian? Wait, what is this game? I think the board was wrong. Yeah, definitely not right. She played d4. Yeah, look at the look at the king and the queen on the boards here. That's actually kind of funny. Okay, so we're gonna try something else. We're gonna try our good old-fashioned classroom board. So give me a moment here to start making these moves. d4, knight f6. Emily plays knight to c3, and now it was e6, and now e4. So Emily's got her 2 pawns in the center. Give me 1 second here. We have a French, basically. Yeah, this guy is transposed. Perhaps. And yeah, I'll keep an eye on the DGT board, make sure it updates. Hello, Bauer. What rating is her opponent? These are great questions. I'm not sure. But yeah, who set up these DGT boards? Okay, e6 and d6 from black. Yeah, we love having the white pieces. Emily, very comfortable with her opening, it seems. She's got it pretty set. Opponent with the black pieces not really giving her too much of an issue out of the gate here, which is a good thing. Why can't we see the opponent? That is a great question. There he is. Hello. Hello, opponent. I can move myself and the board if you want me to. I think it was more fun when she was playing against Luke. Very cute opponent in round 3. Hello, Z Nation. How's it going? Yeah. Black has given Emily the full center control. The question is, what does she want to do with it? She brings the bishop out to g5, pinning the knight. Black can respond fairly easily with bishop to e7, developing a minor piece, blocking the pin. Yeah, she did draw her last game after a surprising draw offer. But we take those. No shame in accepting a draw. Hey, Paul. Good to see you again. Welcome. Usually this pin, we're threatening to play something like e5. It doesn't quite work out in this certain line because after black trades, there's a queen trade. But also, even after the trade, with the pawn attacking the knight, black can then counterattack the bishop as well. Here, black decides to connect their knights, sticking with the more passive approach for sure. And now knight to f3 actually might pose some problems for black. But still, black does have an h6 bailout, essentially saving the piece. It's a French without d5. We can call it many things, perhaps. I'm not sure. I guess, yeah, Skia calling it a hyper-modern. You still haven't recovered, Zach. Well, I'm glad that you're back here with us. If you weren't in the chat, I might have sent a search crew to make sure that you're okay. But we have him. We've confirmed Zach's whereabouts. He is safe. He's doing well. He will recover. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But at some point. What's her current rating? She's around 1,000. All right. Wow. E5 out the gate. Emily just playing with authority. Probably not the best move. Why don't I turn on the eval and the lines just... Yeah, I think in theory that's just a free pawn. So opponent takes. Emily just out the gate playing speedy. And we got Tony already spectating her move. He's he's perhaps in shock. And now is Emily going to trade queens here? Okay, that she does. Black king forced to recapture, only legal move. And now she could castle with check. Really just flexing on him. We love a good queenside castle check. Yeah, now we have someone taking a picture of the score sheet. Emily apologized there. Probably trying to fix the DGT board. So shout out to our organizers there, helping us with our fancy chessboard technology, making sure everything's hooked up to the internet, because there are many fans tuning in, trying to check out these moves from these chess celebrity streamers. Can he play h6? h6 is a legal move. That is true. However, it is white's turn here. So Emily's already given up a pawn to trade queens. Black cannot castle. And we are very early on in the game here. I don't think this is exactly what Emily wanted. And it's very common to see higher frequency of mistakes or inaccuracies in the last game of the tournament. This is, of course, the last round here, round 5. And think of a tournament kind of like a marathon, right? It's hard to be at a full sprint. And here she goes. She captures with check, assuming black will take back. And she's damaged black's pawn structure, but she is trading further down into an endgame where she is actually down a pawn. So interesting to see how Emily's going to get the material back, or if she can stir up some trouble with her in-game technique here. Here we see her resting her head on her hand, thinking, and now she castles long. We love a good queenside castle with check. And wow, fast response from black. Bishop out to d6. They were ready for that. So, yeah, she's playing fast. But the question is she also playing furious? She's got the speed for sure. Is Emily playing against Hans? No. Oh, and the clock has been paused. We've got we've got someone else now talking about the moves. They're trying to fix the DGT. We've got a lot of people looking at them now. And now we have an explanation here. Let's get the full camera view. We've got another picture of the score sheet. The clock has been resumed. It is Emily's turn. She just queenside castled with check. Black has just blocked with their bishop developing. Yeah, the board initially was set up with the king and the queen on the wrong squares. A classic mistake. We've all done it. That is one of the potential downsides of playing over the board. You don't have the computer automatically setting up the pieces for you, preventing you from playing illegal moves. I know I myself have made the mistake of making an illegal move. And this was honestly not even a fault of the players. Typically, these boards are set beforehand, before they even get there. So, I don't know. Unless we could see from Emily's previous round, if she set it up incorrectly, I cannot put the blame on them. Of course, when you go to the board, it's probably safe to double check that the pieces are on their proper squares. But for the most part, that's not quite something you're thinking about. When you see the board is set, you just assume whoever did it before you knew how to set it up. But yeah, I am actually kind of curious to see if we go back and look at the tape from the previous round, if it was indeed Emily who set it up. That might be funny. Okay, G3 on the board. Emily trying to get her light squared bishop involved, perhaps on the long diagonal. No, I don't think they need to restart the game. I think the organizers just need to fix the DGT relay. All right, the king ventures to e7 off the d file where the bishop was pinned by the rook. Yeah, we're already 10 moves deep. If you joined late, we've already traded queens. We've given up a pawn, perhaps a gambit. The Emily gambit that she's working on here probably could have developed a knight to f3 previously before she went for this e5 attack. This was perhaps a little premature, a move that Emily might consider taking back, jumping the gun, so to speak. Yeah, this position's still very, very young, very ripe, and much development left to do. She could have brought in her knight to f3. She could have brought out her bishop. She could have maybe developed the queen and castled all before playing e5, but she jumps the gun, trades queens, trades bishop for knight, and now we have g3 and bishop to g2, a fianchetto, keeping an eye on this pawn, keeping this bishop at home, keeping the rook in the corner. So, position's still very young. We're very, very much just starting this game. Obviously, black is for choice, up a pawn. Already traded a few pieces. So, the more and more pieces you trade, the better it will become for black, as that pawn difference will become more and more noticeable. But there are still many minor pieces left. Still both set of rooks left, and black lining up their rook, looking to trade, is playing very solidly here. So black knows what they're doing. Emily, she's still in this game, still very early on, but not the best start for sure. And like I said, it's the last round of the tournament, so there's a lot of energy that's been spent in this tournament in the previous 4 rounds, it's very hard to stay consistently at the top of your game for the entire duration of a tournament. So this has been a whole weekend. She started on Friday with a win, first round dub, and then yesterday she had 2 games, and she's already played a game earlier today. So this is the second game of the day, the 5th game of the tournament, and the final round. Let's see if Emily can come back from this pawn deficit and end on a high note. Either way, very impressed with her score so far. I know she didn't have her best tournament in Las Vegas. And so it's very impressive that she's coming back the following weekend after coming home and already competing again, already streaming. So there's no stopping for Emily. She keeps going and she keeps playing and she keeps learning and improving. So, she hasn't lost yet this tournament. Even if this is her first and only loss of the tournament, I think it's still a good result for her. So, how'd she do in Vegas? I don't even remember the exact score, but I do know that she wasn't very pleased. What happened in round 4, she drew her opponent. I think she was losing, and her opponent offered perhaps an early draw. Can't stop, won't stop. Addicted to the shindig. That's Emily. Shout out to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Knight to e4 played. Emily perhaps going for the bishop. They did draw Rosie the previous round. Esquia referencing the Scheveningen variation. Apparently that is a place in the Netherlands. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it. I think it's on the beach. But Emily is playing a different European opening, the London. Shout out to the UK. We had a lot of fans yesterday telling us where they're from. A lot of people from Europe, including Esquia. What did they draw? They drew their chess game. Chess players, often referred to as artists, because they love drawing. Chess is an art after all. Anyways, okay, knight back to c6. A retreating move. Now, I would love if Emily developed this knight and try to bring the other rook to the e-file. Whether or not she does that, we'll find out. What I don't want to see is her take on d6, although it's still a fine move. But typically when you're down material, you do not want to trade, as the more you trade, the harder it will be to come back. So I suspect if she takes the bishop, black certainly will take back with the rook, trying to trade even further down. But black could also take with the pawn. That wouldn't be crazy. So let's see what Emily comes up with. I think she needs to bring her knight out, either to f3 or to e2. These are both very solid, sensible development moves. Always try to get that last minor piece off the back rank and connect your rooks. Very solid development here. Okay, she does trade. Honestly, not surprised. She did put the knight on e4 for a reason. And here we have pawn takes, so I think rook takes probably would have done better for black, increasing the chances of Emily trading further down. But pawn capture here, very sensible move, keeping a strong pawn center presence here for black. But this does leave rooks on the board. And again, we need to keep these pieces on. So let's see now Emily bring her knight into the game. This is definitely an important move. What I don't want to see is bishop takes on c6. That would absolutely not be a good move. Still playable, but like why trade so much when you're down a pawn, actually? But we'll see. We'll see what Emily comes up with here. I suspect a knight move. She only has one knight left. So where will it go? Somewhere in the center. It's got 3 legal moves. 2 of them are towards the center. Knight h3, probably not the best move, but still playable. You know, the knight could come to f4. And here she goes, knight to f3. Very nice move. And now the rooks are connected. Hopefully rook h to e1 coming next. Lining up the rook opposite the king. Always a very solid choice. Putting the rooks on the e and d files in particular, also pretty good. What was the outcome? Brazuca. That game ended in a checkmate by Emily. Who else? All right, e5 played. Opponent putting pawns on dark squares, opening up perhaps for the bishop. This is a very solid move. Controlling d4. Pawns on dark squares are going to be hard for Emily's light square bishop to target. So I really like how Black's just playing this so far in response to Emily's opening. Black's not doing anything crazy, and just really reacting well to having moved the king and not being able to castle. I think this pawn center is very solid. And I think Black is enjoying the extra pawn luxury. That being said, there are doubled pawns for Black. So even being up a pawn might not be enough to convert. And I wouldn't be surprised if Black doesn't quite know the plan, how to simplify, because with the doubled pawn, it's very easy to get stuck. Usually you want your extra pawn to help you create a passed pawn. But with doubled pawns, it's a bit more difficult. Black does have a strong center, though, as Black has both a D and an E pawn. Emily has neither. Emily has a better structure, but she just has one fewer pawn. And that really is the crux of the position. Emily has a very standard 3 pawns on both sides. Only 2 pawn islands, you could call it. Whereas Black has a lot of pawns that are kind of on their own. But a strong center. Some people count doubled pawns as an extra pawn island, which is interesting. Jasu, I look like a pretty depressed person. Thank you for your diagnosis. I am happy to tell you that I'm not depressed, so I feel pretty happy. I don't know if I can change that, how I look for you, but yeah, I really have nothing to complain about. I am just a chess hobbyist, sharing my passions with people. And yeah, I'm not working in an office every day of the week. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm certainly enjoying the life that I've made for myself. Also, very fortunate to have chess friends all throughout the world. I just came back from Europe and in Vegas, where I actually met Emily for the first time. So being able to travel is definitely a luxury. I went to the gym this morning, which is also a luxury. Very fortunate to do that. Haven't gone in a while because I've been traveling. So it's good to be back. And yeah, good to have people tuning in, supporting, being nice, and just watching chess. What more can you ask for? Did I see her last game? I watched a little bit. I saw she dropped a piece, so she was down. And then I heard that she got a draw offer. So, great success. You wanted to broadcast your games? There's nothing stopping you. Let's see it. Did I play in Vegas? I did. I played in the under 2100 section, and I went 4 out of 7. Hello, Heavy Kevy. How's it going? What's up, Notyul? The legend himself. Thank you, Brazuka. Thank you, Bishop Stars. What's my USCF? So my USCF was 1870 going into it. And I gained about 21 rating. So I'm like 1891 now. Trying to get back to 1900. So we'll see. I don't know when my next tournament will be, but I'm hoping to play more in St. Louis here. And I do feel underrated. I didn't play at all 2024. I had basically taken the year off from OTB for no particular real reason. I did move states, so I think that played a role. But yeah, the games that I lost in my tournament, I felt like I had a good position in every single game, which I think is a good sign. So they were all at least winnable. There were no games where I was like completely mopped off the board. So I think I just was a bit jet lagged, maybe tired, maybe rusty as well from not having played in forever. So I do feel underrated, which I think is a good thing. I just need to play more. How did we get into this position, Nodule? That's a great question. Emily went for perhaps a pawn sacrifice, a gambit, if you will. Some would say that she blundered a pawn, but I think it was strategically played. Emily decided to trade queens to prevent her opponent from castling. But perhaps it's best I show you from the start here. We've got her d4, knight to c3 setup. Not quite a London. She didn't go bishop f4, but her opponent allowed her to play e4. Opponent didn't take the center. Emily goes for the pen. And now after knight to d7, here's where Emily perhaps strayed from the course of the opening principles. Instead of continuing her control of the center, she decides to push for e5, giving up a pawn and trading queens, trading down even further, and now castling with check. But the black king finds some shelter on e7. And Emily continues trading and only now brings out her knight. And yeah, b3, I'm not exactly sure what b3 is about, to be honest. Okay, I guess I see now. She's protecting her a-pawn. Yeah, usually not the best. Usually, like, you just play king b1 or something. Or even a3, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's not the best position Emily's ever had, but it's playable. It's fine. Lots of chess left in this game. I mean, at any moment, you never know what turn in the action there could be. But black's playing very solidly so far. What did black play? Did black already make a move? Emily's played b3 and it's her turn again. So let's see. The rook did the rook move somewhere? Did they lift the rook? I don't see it on the. I feel like they lifted the rook. I feel like it's rook d7. I feel like black played rook d7. And that might be a great cue for me to double check how the DGT board has been updated or not. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let me switch boards then. Here we go. We've got the clock times as well. So Emily has just played rook to e4, giving a question mark on chess.com. Chess.com always seems to be a harsher judge than I am, and it's because it's a better chess player than me, admittedly, understandably. I cannot compete with Stockfish. To Stockfish, everything seems to be a mistake or an inaccuracy because it's hard to be perfect, you know? I ask Emily what it's like to be perfect. Even she can't explain it. Some people just have it. And the rest of us, we have to only imagine what it's like. But even Stockfish says that Emily's not playing perfectly, unfortunately. So why is this a mistake? I mean, it doesn't blunder anything tactically per se. So I think the computer's just being a little harsh. I don't ever invest too much thought into the question marks, the brilliancies. I think a lot of people really strive for the brilliancies, but really, I think you all are beautiful, regardless of what the computer thinks. If your moves are brilliant or not, you are still brilliant. And you know, your mistakes, sometimes those actually lead to brilliancies. People, you know, will question, oh, that wasn't a good move. Well, maybe it's actually a creative interpretation of a good move or a good idea, so to speak. I think there was a game we were watching Emily play where she played h3 and it looked like she was about to bring her bishop back to h2 because there was a knight attacking it. But she left the bishop there to open up the e-file. This was her game. Was it game 1? I should remember. But yeah, the computer didn't like it. But of course, I thought it was a really creative idea to open the e-file, garnering an attack, and it ended up working out. She won the game. So chess is all about the decisions you make. There's no right or wrong answer for every move, right? And Stockfish is oftentimes really boring, right? It's a computer. I think there's beauty to human play, which is why it's surprising to me that most games on chess.com are against the bots. I never play against the bots. I don't understand why people would prefer playing the bot than a human. I think people are afraid to make mistakes or they get embarrassed if they lose to another person. But there's nothing wrong with that. I would much rather lose to a human than to win against the bot. Do we know the ratings of both players? They should probably both be around 1,000. I don't actually know their ratings exactly. Whoa, our opponent has a FIDE account, but they're not rated. Anyways, Emily is at 3 out of 4. She has 2 draws and 2 wins. But it all comes down to this, her 5th and final game of the tournament. Rook to c8 played, lining up opposite of her king, which seems like a very sensible move. Black also just barely having spent any time off their clock. Emily, she's been pacing herself fairly well from what I've seen so far. And it's very easy to pick up your pace when your opponent is also speeding through the game. But Emily's not rushing at this point. Maybe she could have taken even more time earlier before she had played e5, offering a pawn. If she wins, you're sure she will get back over 1,000. Yeah, I think Emily will get over 1,000. It's just a matter of time. Maybe not this game or this tournament. Why are there only 5 rounds? That's a great question, Moondance. It's because they only wanted to do this weekend, I guess, with 2 rounds a day for Saturday and Sunday, and they did 1 round on Friday. We've got a little bit of buffering here from the video. We've seen this before. Luckily, it cleared itself out pretty quickly, but even if the video goes down, we still have the DGT board, which has been fixed thanks to the organizers. But yeah, it's hard to, play these tournaments that are over weekdays. A lot of people have work to do, or school, or a million other things. Any advice for us, the 1,000 players to climb? You just should keep playing. Analyze your games, wins and losses. Really just takes time and practice. Yeah, we do also have Tony's stream. Great point. Opponent is 989 USCF, but only has 9 games before this event. Okay, so they're pretty new. You're pleased to see the opponent behaving enormously differently. Well, they are very different people. How's a 6-year-old doing? That's a great question. I don't know. Maybe someone has the tournament results. Brazuca, yeah, I hope your day's better now. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, Emily, deep in thought here, coming up with her next plan, her next move. She did just lift her rook. Perhaps she wants to go to the H file, try to pick off some of these pawns. Bishop to F5. This is a move that we have to keep in mind, right? It attacks the rook, but it also attacks the C2 pawn, which is already being X-rayed by black's rook on the C file. So we have to be cautious of tactics. And this is what happens when our opponent has good development, right? Good piece play leads to coordination, which leads to tactics. So it all comes down to your position of your pieces. So Emily might be considering a move like C4. It could be dangerous after a move like D5, trying to open things up. Maybe she wants to move her king off the C file, and that works well with her B3 pawn push. You don't like the elo, it doesn't take into account how well the player played. Yeah, it only cares about the result, right? Win, loss, or draw. Doesn't take into account the quality of the game. But it is hard to judge that, right? Maybe you could look at your accuracy, but again, that's also being judged by a computer, right? And I personally don't put too much weight into what, chess.com says about your accuracy, your percentage, or even like what elo you played like. So I think at the end of the day, the result base is pretty fair, right? Because maybe it doesn't matter how you played. What matters is the result. But as like a chess player myself, I do feel like, especially when you're trying to encourage people that are trying to learn chess and to improve. I love to just ignore the result and just focus on where you can improve, right? Where you blundered, where you could have found a better move. And that's why it's important to review both your wins and your losses. Because it doesn't matter if you won, there's still many places where you probably could have, made improvements. Rook to h4 has been played. She is going for the h-pawn. And black really quickly, bishop to f5, had this ready. This is a great move. Bishop on both offense and defense, pointing at Emily's king, defending that lowly h-pawn. So let's see how Emily reacts here. Probably moving the king to b2 makes sense. Hey, Dr. Skull, how's Emily doing today? Emily drew her first game after blundering and losing for the whole game, essentially, and got a draw offer. So perhaps a lucky result. But overall, she's 3 out of 4 with 2 wins and 2 draws. She hasn't lost yet. And this is her 5th round, which is the last game of the tournament, her second game today. And she's currently down a pawn, but very still early on in the game. At this point, both players still well over an hour left on their clocks. But Emily is down a little bit of time. Her opponent playing pretty quickly, but also playing pretty solidly. So Emily's down a pawn, but black has doubled pawns, so it's unclear how black is going to convert the extra pawn advantage into something perhaps more tangible. But honestly, I like black's position beyond the extra pawn as well. You have a really strong coordination with the black pieces pointing at Emily's king on c1. So I do think king to b2 is probably a pretty reasonable move here, pretty safe, keeping the c pawn flexible and how to defend it. Zach was in the chat. Okay, Emily has decided to bring her rook back, this time to the c file, penning the knight, but very temporarily. This rook might get kicked around, but also black can just double the rooks on the d file, or sorry, the c file. h3, g4, rook h5, knight h4. What about you? Well, yeah, she could have just played g4 immediately, I think. But you wanted rook h5. I mean, when you play g4, maybe black goes to g6, and now you don't have rook h5 available. You want knight h4? Yeah, I'm not sure. But I mean, knight h4 actually, now that the rook has left h4, knight h4 is a very, very solid move. It opens up the bishop. It attacks black's bishop with check as well. If they go back to g6, we might still consider taking with check. We might help undouble our opponent's pawns, but this is a very good bishop for sure. And if we trade the bishop, then maybe the rook can come back out. Wow, okay, so the computer actually hates this move, but it's for a reason that I don't know if Emily's going to find this. The top engine move is knight h4, which we had just looked at in discussion of attacking this bishop and opening up our bishop. So in fact, there's actually a tactic here. Rook takes on c6 with knight h4. I think that might be more findable. And Emily's very leaned in here. She might have her spidey senses tingling. She might have felt a disturbance in the force. Chess.com giving this the red X, a miss from black. This is what happens when you play against a speedy opponent This guy, he thinks he's just, in a much better position, and he gets a little loosey-goosey here with b5, just launching a pawn, attacking a rook, but it leaves black susceptible to tactics, as there is coordination now. That b pawn was defending the knight, no longer. So Emily might find something here. She might cook, as they say. And as I say that, she gets the double question mark blunder from chess.com. I was going to say probably a more sensible move, something maybe more realistic. She might have gone to like c3, for example, just maintaining the rook on the c file. But she's doing a little truffle here. She's gone to h4 for the second time now. But, this pawn push might come back to haunt black. This is still a weakness where the knight now is maybe tactically vulnerable to the bishop discovery. Like, our knight can move. So let's see. I think another pawn push for black in the center, d5. And another red X for black. So maybe we'll get used to maybe not the best moves, according to chess.com, for both of these players. But at the end of the day, that's okay, as these players are not perfect. Neither are we. So we shall see. What matters is not who blunders first, but who blunders last. And that could be anyone at any moment. He who blunders last laughs least. Okay, g4 on the board. Emily throwing a punch to this bishop. Bishop tucks back. Easy peasy. And her rook now on h4, probably not having the best time, because now he's blocked by his own g-pawn. So Emily is Jedi, Jordy Bunny. Honestly, we've talked about this before, and I think the consensus is she is still a Padawan. She's a Jedi in training. Rook h6. I think probably we want to go back, but rook h6, technically a move. And the good thing about moving the rook to h6 is that we clear the h4 square for our knight, and we're going after this bishop. This bishop defending some of these pawns. If we remove the bishop, then our rook on the h file makes a little bit more sense. Maybe he offers a draw. That's a great point. We never know. If there was any lesson from the previous round, it was exactly that. You're a poker player, and in poker you play awfully and still have a winning session, but in the long run, if you keep playing badly, you're going to lose inevitably. That's a great point. I am a poker enjoyer. That's my one regret of my trip, is I didn't play any poker in Las Vegas. But yeah, sometimes in poker, you can get rewarded for bad play, or you could be punished for good play. And that's true in chess as well. There's a lot of overlap between chess and poker. There's a lot of players that play both. So it's very interesting, the skill set that you need. I think in both games you can bluff, right? So in chess, though, you try not to play what's called hope chess, where you hope your opponent doesn't see a good move and you try to go for something. But I think, especially in speed chess, like blitz or bullet, sometimes you have to choose a trickier line that might cost your opponent more time and really give yourself the best chances. So when you're looking at a computer evaluation, especially, sometimes the best thing to do is trade down. But when you're down in material, that actually hurts your chances of coming back. So sometimes you have to choose a less optimal move just to keep your chances alive in the future. And that really only works when you're playing against another imperfect human being who, might make a slip in time pressure. But the computer doesn't really understand that. So that's another reason why I think humans are just more interesting than computers. That's why I'm commentating the humans playing, because there's like chess tournaments played by computers all the time, and it's like the best level chess you will ever see. But people don't really like watch or talk about it because it's kind of boring, right? The stakes just aren't there yet. I don't know if they ever will be. I think when Google came out with AlphaZero, I thought that was pretty interesting because we had never seen that level of chess played before where it just like crushes Stockfish. Because to us, Stockfish was like God. And so to see something stronger than Stockfish crush it is just kind of game changing, really. But for the most part, I think these like computer championship matches, you've got like Komodo versus Stockfish, or I don't know, all these other things. It's like, okay, I don't watch chess for perfection. I watch chess for the drama, for the imperfections, the blunders, the mistakes, the inaccuracies. That's what makes us human. And that's why this position for Emily, I think it's still very fresh. She's got a dilemma, right? She's put herself into a pickle, but that's just where the story begins. Let's see how she fights through this adversity. She's got a battle before her, a hill to climb. And she's struggling right now. She's in it, in the thick of it. And we're about to witness whether or not she can pull through. If she can find success despite her setbacks. This is the drama, the action that we live for. A3 has been played. She was worried perhaps about knight to b4, which was previously covered by her rook, but no more because of the g-pawn. Emily is hyper aware of her surroundings. She sees black's threats, black's potential attacks, the threats on c2, the discoveries of the knight. Honestly, knight a5, pretty good move. I'm not going to lie. Wait, what is the computer says knight b4 nonetheless. Holy smokes, folks. And black, of course, insta play d4. Black, I don't know if this guy even appreciates the potential within his own pieces. He is not spending any time relishing in the tactical potential that he has created for himself, or that Emily perhaps is offering. And so every move that black delays their tactics is a move and an opportunity for Emily to come back. Yeah, people saying knight b4 anyways would be crazy. Yeah. So knight b4 was still the top move, which is ridiculous. And this is something that I had heard Danya mention before. When you're calculating a tactic and you think that you can't do something, like your opponent plays a3, preventing knight b4, ask yourself this simple question. What if I do it anyways? And that, I think, is a strong basis for opening up a world of tactical possibility, right? Don't let your your mind limit you. Don't put yourself into a box where just because you think something doesn't work, that it can't be done. Think outside the box. Break the rules. Oh, there's a pawn on a3? I don't care. I'll put my knight on b4 anyways. That's just how crushing my position is. But no, this guy, he didn't even spend a minute on that move. He insta-played. And now Emily has another opportunity to try to come up with something here. What are the problems in the position? It's this file, the C file, right? Does king b2 help us? Yeah, d3 is also, I think, gonna hit hard. Maybe a knight move, but where to exactly? Maybe a rook move to try to play knight h4. Yeah, when she had her rook on c4 and b5 was played, that was definitely a tactical opportunity for Emily. Of course, half Japanese. What are you talking about? 18? '91 must? No, there's no must move here. The computer likes 91 the best. That doesn't mean that it's a must play move. But yeah, pretty much anything Emily plays, the computer is still going to like black. So we'll see. 91 is a solid move, right? 91 helps us control these very key light squares that are potentially under siege. Also opens up the bishop. Maybe we want to play f4. Maybe, just maybe. 91, f4, it looks like a free pawn. But hear me out. If they don't take, we can play f5, which traps their bishop. If they do take, then their pawns become very isolated and weak, and we can try our best to pick them up. What's up, Halvard? How's it going? Good to see you. Okay, so king b2 is played. This is definitely a solid move. This is a move that I think could have been played earlier as an option. It's being played now. The idea is that we're off the C file. Now, for the second time in a row, black has this very pretty idea to sacrifice the knight on b4, just opening up the C file anyways. Now, this was missed the move prior. The odds of it being played now, I still feel, are fairly low. The opponent instead goes knight to a5. And now, 91 is a great defensive move if Emily can find it. So, the idea of knight b4 is that the knight contributes to the attack on c2. It is only defended once by the king. Knight to b4 would not only be a discovery, but a triple threat. And so even just removing the knight doesn't remove the attack for black. Black still crashes through, and they'll get their material and then some back. Knight to a5 similarly opens up the C file for this attack on c2. However, it doesn't contribute the third attack from the knight. So that means that Emily has a chance to defend this pawn. And there's a few ways you can do it. You can move the rook, or you can move the knight. Now, the problem with moving the rook is that black will continue the attack. I figured they would play something like d3, but maybe then we can push and block the file from opening. But the computer actually says after rook d2, the best move is knight to c4, a check and a fork, and just giving up the knight, and I guess black's going to try to steamroll us with their pawns. Now, the odds of that happening, I feel, are fairly low. What's her elo? She's about 1,000. Around 950. You're not dumb, Cheshire Rat. Yeah, we would love to see 91, though. 91 is our best defense. How did the rook get to h4? The rook lifted, and then it swung. It swung back and forth, actually. Ball so hard, University. No, I went to UCLA. Rook d2, this is definitely, I think, a top candidate move. I think it's very difficult to play a backwards move, right? Black's going to help us find it, though, because our options are pretty limited on how to defend. Of course, the move knight c4 was the top move that was missed. Black, of course, just continuing, laying down the pressure, move after move. And here we have the third attacker of Black's contributing, converging on c2, only defended twice, not enough times. This now really is the last moment for Emily to find knight to e1. Not an easy move to find, a hard move to make. We naturally don't want to retreat our pieces after developing them. But if we don't find knight e1, c2 will fall. So Emily now is put into a position where knight e1 is the best choice by a lot. It's the difference between losing the pawn and the activity and the attack versus preventing it. So again, it's not a must find, but it's as close as it's going to get. Because then it's going to be very difficult to come back if she doesn't find this move. But I do think it's very findable. I think she can find it. I think that she sees that her pawn is a problem right now. And there's really no other move that would save it. Yeah, you know, if you try to create a counterattack, then you're giving up this fork. If you push this, you're giving up a major fork as well. So yeah, knight e1 defends the pawn. Backwards knight move. So all eyes on Emily. We believe. Where are my believers at? Knight e1 only move. It's the only move that saves the pawn. We believe. Does he know I'm... Yeah, I was considering like c4, but that's also not really a good move. What up, Tors? Take your time, Emily. We believe. You can do it. This is like, if you don't see it and you're playing online, this is where you're clicking on all the pieces to see what the legal moves are. Yeah, Tony's opponent, the next kid, laser focused right now. Big moment here. We'll see how long it takes for Emily to make her move. And honestly, if she finds the best move, knight e1, it'll have been worth the time that she spent. Moment of truth. She definitely seems a lot more calm, I would say, compared to the previous game I watched. She was constantly hovering her hand over pieces and second guessing herself. But right now, she's got no impulsive moves or gestures. She's just calmly staring at the board. She's completely cleared her back rank, by the way. Nothing is left there. She's moved everything up at least one. But she needs to put her knight back to e1. Hey Nordovik, good to see you. Yeah, it was good to see you again. You got second in the poker tournament. That's awesome, dude. That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't play enough poker. I didn't play any poker. Someone mentioned my bank account thanks me. But you know, I don't mind losing money to play because I enjoy playing poker. And also, I've won money playing poker before. So, I'm not terrible. I don't gamble in other ways. I don't like playing blackjack. But I mean, people tell me that's like your best odds at a casino. But I like Texas Hold'em. I like poker particularly because I feel like I'm not really playing against the house. I'm just playing against the other people at the table. Okay, Emily has lashed out here. She goes the wrong way with the knight. A little devastating. She could have maybe spent a little bit more time here finding a better move because this does not actually address the problem. Because now, after pawn takes knight, we no longer have the knight resource to defend our pawn. She's opened up the e-file. She gets maybe one more check. But I think things are going to come downhill pretty quickly from here. So that was a miss, to say the least. The game is not over yet. So yeah, honestly, Emily, great start to the tournament. Still hasn't lost yet. 3 out of 4 is really good. But you know, last day, it's tough. It's tough to be on your A game multiple days in a row. And that's exactly what these tournaments are. Emily plays rook e2 check. The king goes back. And now Emily's faced with the ultimate dilemma of an indefendable pawn at this stage. So, yeah, it was defendable with knight e1, but it still would have been a tough position nonetheless. I don't know their ratings. I know Emily's about 950. Opponent might be underrated, right? Maybe it doesn't exactly matter what the ratings are. Your friend got first place. That's awesome. Imagine being in Vegas and not playing poker. I was too consumed with the chess. There was so much chess just nonstop. I couldn't help myself. He got a flush on the river to beat your top pair. That's crazy. Apparently 1500 online. Yeah, that's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's hopeless. Just because things look bad and just because the engine doesn't see a defense doesn't mean we can give up hope. It's not over until it's over. And knight b3 will be mate. Yeah, well, we could also walk into a discovery, you guys. No one's considering king to b1. You imagine rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, king to b1. Sure, we're giving up more material. And then we can resign, but who knows? And you know, at the end of the day, the result of this game, it's not like this is the world championship, right? This is just another tournament, and she can look back at this tournament and be proud of herself and how she played and the results that she got. It's very difficult to play a tournament expecting to win every game or to not lose a single game. And right now, she's at 3 out of 4 and hasn't lost a single game. So to get to this point, very impressive. And that's also what happens when you play a good tournament. You get paired against good players. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. And Jordy Bunny didn't see the opponent. You guys can all see him. He's adjusting he's lining the pieces up very professionally. Yeah. This game maybe a bit too easy for him. Maybe he's provisional. Who knows? But yeah, at the end of the tournament, if you're doing well, you're going to get paired against the best players in the section. That's just how the Swiss format works. So it only makes sense. Over time, Emily would get paired against the toughest opponents to face. And it looks like he's also got his Starbucks cup there. You know, he was ready for the... Emily's got a water cup on her side, but no amount of hydration can save her. No, it's fine. It's okay, Emily. She's got her head in her hands. Yeah, it's not a pleasant position. Yeah, I wonder if she had seen 91, I think she plays it. But it reminds me, I had a game in Vegas just last week where I blundered a perpetual, and eventually I decided to continue playing, trade queens, and I have a bishop versus 3 pawns. And I figured I could win the pawns and win the game, but I had no time. I was in a time scramble, a crunch. And I was living off the increment. I picked off 1 pawn. I picked off a 2nd pawn. And this guy, he's pushing his last pawn down all the way to the edge. He's trying to promote it. He gets it 1 square away. And then he puts his rook on my back rank, pinning my rook to my king. If I take his rook, his pawn takes back and promotes. My rook is hanging. But my bishop is covering the promotion square. So all I need to do is move my rook where my king protects it. And I just didn't see it. It was the only winning move. I was still winning. If I play it, I think I win because he's never promoting. And I'll just inch my way back and win his last pawn, and I'll just be up a piece. But of course, if I had seen it, I would have played it. The problem is I didn't see it. So I didn't play it, and I ended up losing. And that's why these games are so important to play and to experience. It doesn't feel good in the moment where you're just getting beat and you're getting crushed and you're losing. But when we look at the game back, right, and retroactively just try to reassess the position, that to me is a very key learning process in any over-the-board tournament. The game review is invaluable in your chess improvement. This tournament and this game is just one stepping stone on Emily's much larger, grander journey to chess improvement. So this is a good experience for her. When we look at the review at the end, we could ask her, hey, did you see 91? And if she sees it, then she'll say, okay, well, I missed that. Because if I had seen it, I'd play it, I would defend my pawn, and, I'd still have chances at a holding, right? So now, in the future, if she has a similar position, she can now implement that and say, hey, there's something that's hanging. How do I defend this, right? Have I looked at all of my resources? And 91 was one of those resources that she had. So really, the learning happens from really the pain of losing. You review and try to find what you could have done differently. Emily, finally, she makes her move. And now black crashes on through. Again, not really much thought here. Just taking. Emily's going to take back. Black will crash through yet again. Maybe they take with the bishop. Unlikely, but okay. Rook takes, and now here she can go to a1 and blunder. Knight takes a3 isn't even mate in 1, by the way. There's just king b2. Or b1, I should say. But yeah, she does go to b1. She is going to be losing. Well, actually, with this g pawn push, by the way, she can block here. Because the rook is defending. The problem is there's taking here, I suppose. But yeah, this is gonna be a fast game. We'll see how much longer Emily can take. And yeah, I mean, listen, sometimes you just got to give credit to your opponent, right? I think he played a very solid game. Very difficult for Emily to come back from the opening. King a1 was not mate. It was very close to mate. Yeah, if you play king a1 now, yeah, it is mate. King a1, the move prior was not. But she should block on e4 with the bishop. Yeah, the opponent has played very, very quickly this whole game. I think you start with 100 minutes, and now he's at about 90 minutes. And this is also just before move 30. So I think it's 10-second increment. So for 30 moves, that's like an extra 10 minutes. So I guess he's used in total maybe 20 minutes. But yeah, I mean, he's just a strong player. Yeah, bishop e4, they take the g-pawn. She just has to give up the exchange. But she'll be basically down a rook. But, you know, I mean, listen, you block with on e4 and you hope that maybe they just trade. You never know. There's a world in which Emily takes here. Takes on g6, pawn takes, and then she checkmates black. Can you believe it? If we could just play like 3 moves in a row, which I was watching, Phoebe played a tournament in Italy and her opponent got to play 2 moves in a row because he kept forgetting to hit the clock. And in Phoebe's kindness, she kept hitting it for him. And then there was confusion if he had hit it or not. And he just made 2 moves in a row. And she still won the game. What a baller move. Let your opponent move twice and still win. But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. I'd never seen that before. He's clearly not a beginner, of course. You've created a new rating system. Okay. You could maybe create a counterpart to FIDE and come up with your own titles. Yeah, Jordy, I was too afraid to ask what it stood for. Yeah, Emily is a very good player. Oh, she just played an illegal move. All right, she resigns. And Tony's laughing at her. Yeah, rough game for sure. But that concludes the tournament for Emily. She ends with 3 points out of 5. Hopefully, she'll be gaining some rating. I think she played very well. And regardless of the final game's result, it was the only loss of the entire tournament. So to only lose 1 game out of 5, I think is very impressive. I think this is a good bounce back from her Vegas tournament. And hopefully this is just, as I said earlier, a stepping stone on the greater path to victory in her chess improvement journey. Also, there's Phoebe in the chat. Speaking of, I think Phoebe was lurking. Sorry to call her out. I should talk more about Phoebe, honestly, and then maybe she'll stop by the streams more. Who knows? Just kidding. All right. Well, let's see if Emily is in the mood for a interview. So stand by while we wait. Yeah, shout out to Phoebe for sure. We've got the Phoebe command. Oh, maybe I should change the Phoebe command because it says that the Netherlands isn't real. But I was just there. I can confirm unless they like pulled a trick on me. I don't know. Maybe it was all an illusion. All right. But yeah, Emily needs some time to get out and settled from the playing hall. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching, for tuning in and supporting Emily. It's always a pleasure to get to commentate. Hope to commentate again sometime soon. And huge shout out to Emily for competing. She literally played a tournament last week. She kept going, playing yet again, back-to-back weekends. And out of 5 games, she only had 1 loss, 2 wins and 2 draws, 3 points out of 5. Very impressive score. And she should keep her chin held high. I think that she had some good games and some good moments to learn from as well. And hopefully some rating gain. Always nice to have. So we'll see. In the meantime, we can look back at the game. Let's see. I might actually have to... make some more moves. Because here, I only went to move 16 here. So let's see. This is where she lifted. What do they do? Like this? I feel like... Rook h4 she did. Here, here, here. Back to here, which was a mistake. And now d5 played. g4. Bishop back. And now I think is where she played a3. And then d4. King b2. Knight here. Rook here. Double. This is the last opportunity for her to find knight e1. Takes, check here. And now this is where she collapsed. Very difficult to prevent the attack here. So yeah, she comes up with g5, but then the trades king to b1 takes, and this is where she resigned. So that was the game. But yeah, let's see. Okay, Emily's asking for a quick break. but we will have her on an interview. So if you guys have any questions for her, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll try my best to get to it. What's up, Strider? How was Utah? Did you play chess there? Yeah, Emily had the white pieces. This was not her best game, but her opponent was a very strong player. Played very well. Essentially, Emily played e5 a little too soon. She needed to continue her development before she went for this, because this was a free pawn. And here she trades queens, and she trades minor pieces, and she goes into an endgame where she's just down a pawn. So ultimately, this is very hard to come back from when you're playing against someone that knows what they're doing. So the opponent really didn't make too many mistakes after this, or really throughout the entire game. So yeah, that was perhaps another opportunity where Emily traded when she didn't need to. And yeah, the opponent just converted. So I think this was the last moment where maybe she could have tactically gone for some tricks. Maybe knight h4 here is a nice try, or even rook takes on c6 would have been interesting. But yeah, she puts the rook back on h4, and unfortunately there was nothing that she could have mustered up on the king side. And then it was just all black from here. So right here at this moment is the last opportunity. She could have maybe put up a little bit more resistance defending on c2 with knight e1. But that was missed. So from here on out, black just kind of converted. Emily takes and eventually resigned. All right, let's call Emily. She's ready for her interview now. Hello. Oh. Wait, what just happened? Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Hi. I don't know. Oh. She keeps Hi.
Hi. Okay. I don't know what that's all about.
All good.
Hello.
Okay, so not your best game you've ever played, but that guy was really good, right? He didn't
Was
really
he?
make
Or did I just like play? Like I don't even know. I like.
it was both not your best, and I also, when you play 3 out of 4, you're gonna get paired against a stronger player. Like that's just how a Swiss format works, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that guy was underrated. But also, I mean, it's the last game of the tournament. It's very common to, be tired, right? It's very hard. You were playing so well for so many games and a couple days in a row. It's very easy to let up at the very end there. So it's hard to play
Yeah.
your A game for many games in a row for the duration of an entire tournament. So I think you did a really good job overall, bouncing back basically from Vegas. And also, I mean, you did play back-to-back tournaments, right? Which is a lot. So
Yeah.
give yourself some credit. I think this is maybe not the best note to end on, but overall, if you look at the big picture, I think you have a lot to be proud of, and you also have a lot to learn from, which is ultimately, I think, the most important takeaway.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Where like I don't really know like where in that game I went wrong. But like I mean I feel like in the beginning I maybe had an advantage, but then I didn't know. Be like because he just it wasn't until it was like too late that I realized like, oh shit, like I'm in trouble, kind of.
Do
You
you
know what
want
I
me to
mean?
tell you where you went wrong?
Yes.
E5
E5, really?
on move
That
5.
early?
Yeah, you played E5. Just you
Really?
lose a pawn, right?
I know, but then I felt like, okay, his king's in the center.
Well,
Like
you
I
trade,
have
yeah,
like a
but you're
develop.
trading queens, so you're going into an end game where you're down a pawn.
Yeah.
And your development was you have so many pieces left to develop. You should play knight f3 before you play e5, or even get your bishop. You could develop your queen, castle, queenside, and then go for e5.
Hmm.
E5
Okay. I mean,
was too soon.
okay. Huh.
Y-
Interesting.
You don't want to
Yeah.
go into that end game. Even if you prevent them from castling, you're losing your queen, which is a huge attacker, right?
Right.
So even though they haven't castled, if queens are off the board, it's actually okay to not be castled.
Mm.
And it
Okay. Yeah.
definitely
I don't
isn't
know.
worth
I
the
felt like I was
pawn.
getting compensation with the double pawns and everything. I don't know. I guess you're right. And then, I mean, yeah. But then,
Yeah,
I mean, was I like, I was like worse, or it was just like, I just continued to play like shit.
well, there was a really important moment. I think you could have, and I'm sure you'll probably look at these games with Dina, right? Or unsure.
Most likely, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, when you're trading queens, like yes, they can't castle, but it's not that big of a deal because you don't have development and you don't have your queen anymore. So their uncastled king is actually safe and fine. The biggest
Mm,
thing is you're down a pawn, and so trading is just generally bad for you. So even like trading your bishop for their knight, you damage their pawn structure, but you're losing more material. You're diminishing your chances of winning that material back, right? You're just making it more
mm,
difficult for you in the end game. There was another moment where you played your knight to take their dark square bishop. That was also
mm.
completely like unprompted. You didn't have to trade even
Really?
further.
Well, they had the bishop here, and I was like, okay, I feel like
But
I'm not gonna allow him
I
to
think
keep both of his bishops.
the biggest factor is you're just down material. So you want to keep material on for as long as possible.
Mm,
And the last moment, there's two like main moments where if you look at the computer eval, you had a chance to maybe come back.
uh-huh.
You did this rook h4 maneuver to then
Yeah.
c4. And then when they play b5 attacking your rook, that was actually a mistake. They have left themselves tactically vulnerable. You had a couple ideas here that you could have done differently.
Mm-hmm.
The first being you could just leave your rook hanging actually and play knight h4. It's
Mm.
maybe not so clear why, but you're attacking their bishop with check.
And then I had like bishop. What was that? Bishop G4 or something. Like I saw like maybe a potential like skewer of the two rooks with the. So I was actually looking at playing. I don't know. Freaking here I am with my lack of board
It's
vision
okay.
or
It's
whatever.
hard to
But
see if you're not looking, of course.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I'd have to look at it. But I saw that like whatever that square is that I would be targeting with the knight h4 move, knight h4
You're
that
attacking
you're
their bishop
suggesting.
on f5.
Yeah, like I that was kind of like a plan that I had was like trying to get my knight there at some point. But yeah, then the rook kind of effed that whole thing up. I don't know. I was just like completely
Yeah,
not in the.
or
Yeah, I
you
don't
you
know.
could have sacked the exchange. You could have taken their knight with your rook on c6, and if they take back with their rook, then you still have knight h4, which attacks their hanging bishop, and it also
Mm,
is a discovery with your bishop on their rook. And that maybe could have just ended in like you winning two minor pieces for a rook, but that would have created a better imbalance for you to have a comeback.
huh. Interesting. Okay.
But okay, after you put the rook back on h4
What the heck? Is this an alligator? No way.
in
Wait, what? Oh,
Charlotte,
it's a turtle. Oh no, it's a turtle. Okay, that no, it looks like I know. They're not
wait,
here. That's why I was confused. No, it's a turtle.
can
It's
we
a
see
turtle.
the
Do you guys want to
turtle?
see? Yeah, I just saw the head, and then
Aw,
like it looked like that was like the whole head. I don't know. So
so
I was
cute.
not that they would be here, but you never know. You know, someone could have put one in this pond or something. But yeah, there's a turtle.
Yeah, I love turtles.
Anyway, embarrassing. I knew it wasn't an alligator, but it looked like
No,
one
I
at
mean,
first glance.
there's such things as alligator turtles.
Right.
So, okay. So there was a moment where your opponent doubled the rooks on the C file,
Um,
right? And this is where you sacked your knight for a pawn.
I know.
This is
Honestly,
your
at this point,
last
I was
moment.
like, yeah, I knew that was bad, honestly, but I just at this point I was like, well, might as well send it, and I don't even know, maybe get counterplay. But
Well,
yeah, I
okay,
knew it wasn't really
but
that sound.
you saw that your knight was defending C2, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
For at least the one moment it was there. Did you consider maybe a different knight move that also defended C2, or you just didn't see anything?
Oh no! Don't tell me there was a better option.
Of course there was a better option. Yeah, you could
Hmm.
have maybe spent a little
No.
bit more time here before.
I feel like I spent a long time. I think that was also part of it. I was like, oh, I've just spent too much time on this, and I was like, I don't know, gotta protect this square, and if he takes, I
No,
don't know, I get
I
these open
think
spots for my rooks. I open the bishop, and I was like, maybe I'll get something, but
you
yeah.
play against these opponents that like don't spend any time, and I think it's a bad influence because like you ended the game with like 50 minutes left, right?
I felt like I took forever, and the whole time he's like yawning and stuff while I'm
No,
thinking,
but
and I'm like, oh.
you can't let that pressure you, right?
Mhm.
You have to play on your own speed, your own pace.
Mhm.
Because like you rushed E5, I think, early, right? And it's very difficult
Yeah.
to come back from that already. So
Mhm.
I feel like you've also learned this lesson before where you start an attack too soon before you've developed all your pieces, right? You kind of jump the
Yeah.
gun a little bit.
Mhm. Mhm.
But like now when you're defending, this is like the last moment where, okay, he has three attackers on C2 and you only have two
Yeah.
defenders on C2, right?
Mhm.
You had a
One of which is the
move,
king. Yeah.
you had a move that defended it further and you could have maybe defended from there, but you
Oh
missed it.
no.
Yeah, it was
Mm.
knight to E1.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay.
Wow.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
a backwards knight.
Yeah.
It's not the most obvious move to find. I think if you
Uh-huh.
find it, you play it, but yeah, like when you take and you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna hope that it works out. I think you can calculate that it just doesn't work and that you need to spend more time finding it.
Yeah.
But ideally, you spend that time earlier, right? Like you can kind of predict that he can double his rooks, and you're gonna have a problem defending your C pawn.
Yeah.
And yeah, like when you push the pawn to G4 attacking his bishop, like you know that the bishop's just gonna go back to G6, and then what, right?
Yeah.
Like you,
Well, that's when I had the idea of like getting the bishop on that, like attacking the two rooks that were on the same diagonal. And I
oh,
don't know. I was that was just an idea I was like stuck on for some reason. So that was sort of lending to that, like with tempo, I thought. But then I didn't see there wasn't a good follow up because um anyway, I don't know. Again, my lack of like square board vision. I'm gonna
it's
have a hard time
okay.
explaining this. But
No, I
yeah.
mean I saw the vision briefly, but it just wasn't fleshed out fully, I think,
No, correct. It was not.
and that's okay.
Um, yeah.
So
But
ultimately,
lots
though,
to learn from. Yeah.
I do want you to keep your chin high because I think you played a great tournament. I think that's a lot to be proud of. 3 out of 5 is good, right? Positive score. Probably you gained some
Mm-hmm.
rating as well. Fingers crossed.
Mm. Well, I'm
Uh,
still probably gonna be in the negative from like considering the past couple of tournaments,
well,
but that's okay.
I
Lots
mean,
to all part of the process.
if you look at my tournament history, just like I don't want people to just be comparing or whatever because everyone's at their own pace. But my first ever tournament, USCF, was 2013. I had an initial rating of 1800, And now it's 2025, 12 years later, and
Okay,
I'm
subtle
still
flex.
I'm still 1800. So in 12 years, I haven't really made much
Why
progress.
was that your first rating?
I
I'm
guess
confused.
I played some older guys that were like at their floor, and I did well.
Dang. Okay.
But it was
Well, yeah, but you
provisional as
started at
well.
a much higher level, obviously. So,
Well, also, I
but
mean,
anyway,
okay, even if you look at the smaller picture, 2021 was my peak rating. I was 1950, and in 4 years, I've managed to lose over 50 elo.
well, guess what, Joe? I lost double that in like a month. So,
But you're still at the beginning of your
yeah,
chess
yeah,
journey.
yeah.
You have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
potential to grow and improve, and you still also have a lot of fans that are supporting you, and they're all very much looking forward to your next tournament. And I think if you need to take a
Me
break,
too.
that's also fair because you played back-to-back weekends, and that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Well,
So,
actually, I don't know. I was talking at lunch that I don't know when my next tournament is. I'm trying to get one on the books, but yeah, the next Charlotte one I'm not going to be here for. So I don't know, but I want to play soon. So I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for some good opportunities. I'm definitely not taking a break. Well, I'm like, I mean, I will be until I find another tournament, but
exactly.
we'll focus on the online improvement in the meantime. So,
Yeah, and definitely review these games. I think it'll
of
help you
course,
be able to see it for yourself. And again, lots to learn from here, which is the most important thing, I think. A lot of takeaways,
right.
and I think you're
Yes.
crushing it. I think you did great, and it was an honor to be able to just watch you play. And I mean, you played 5 games and you only lost one. That's incredible.
Mm. Well, yeah,
You
okay.
can't win them all.
I'll accept that. But there was I should have lost more than one, but I guess we'll take it.
I mean, the fact that you're like aware of always being able to do better even with a good result, I think shows the competitive passion that you have for improving, and I think that's a really good thing to have, and your potential is
Hmm.
very high, and you're gonna have a lot of success with this attitude.
Well, thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. That's very nice.
All right,
Well,
well, congrats
thanks,
again.
guys. Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys soon. Joe, thanks. And I was gonna show you guys the turtle one last time, but it seems
Yeah.
he's gone away.
uh
So I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, all right. Happy Father's Day also to any fathers watching
of
if they're
course.
there. Yeah. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon.
All right, well, thanks again, Emily. I guess we'll find
Thank
someone
you.
to raid.
Okay, sounds good. Hopefully, okay. I know I said last time to let me know if you couldn't raid, and I didn't look at my phone in time, but this time I will.
That's
So
okay.
if there's not the people with adequate
We have
permission.
Zach in the chat. I don't know,
Oh,
Zach.
perfect. Okay, he's been up. Yeah, he can do it. So
Okay.
amazing.
He's been
Yay.
promoted.
Okay.
Great.
Yes.
Congratulations to Zach.
Yeah.
All
All
right
right.
then.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone. Bye. All right. Well, that was the tournament. Emily finishing with 3 out of 5, which is a positive score. And yeah, thanks everyone. It's been a blast. You're all incredible, amazing, beautiful people. And happy Father's Day, as Emily said. And stick around for this raid. So let's find someone. Who am I going to raid? I don't know who Zach's going to raid. Zach can raid whoever he wishes to raid. Okay, he's raiding Chess Sharks. That is an amazing choice because Chess Sharks is still playing his game. So I too shall raid Chess Sharks. Thank you, Landon. Thanks, everyone. Shout out to all the lurkers as well. You guys are the backbone of Twitch society, the silent majority, and everyone for chatting and hanging out, having a good time. You all rock. You're all appreciated and loved, and I'll see you all hopefully tomorrow. Or if on Emily's stream, just whenever. So, yeah. Bye, everyone.